Hey friends, welcome back to another exciting live trading session. Today, I've got something really special lined up for you, a Bollinger Bands hack that will completely change the way you look at entries and exits in the market. Now, I know many traders out there use Bollinger Bands, but here's the truth. Most of them are using it the wrong way. Don't worry though, because in this session, I'm going to break it all down for you step by step. This simple trick I'm about to reveal is not only powerful, but also super easy to apply. Once you learn it, you'll start seeing cleaner setups, sharper signals, and way more confidence in your trades. Trust me, this one insight could seriously level up your trading game. So stay tuned, watch the full session, and don't forget to take notes, because this might just be the Bollinger Bands breakthrough you've been waiting for. All right, friends, if you've been following along, you've probably already noticed that I've added the Bollinger Bands to my BTC USD chart. And yes, we're working on the 1 minute time frame here, perfect for those quick scalping opportunities. Let me open up the settings real quick so you can see what's going on behind the scenes. Most of the settings are still at their default values, but I did make one small adjustment. I changed the offset value from 0 to 6. This can be helpful in some advanced setups, but for now, let's go ahead and reset it back to the default. All right, setting the offset back to 0, now we're working with the standard settings again. Take a look at how the Bollinger Bands behave with this setup. They expand when the price action gets volatile and contract when the market calms down and moves sideways. That's one of the powerful features of Bollinger Bands. They adjust dynamically to market conditions, making them a super effective tool for spotting potential breakouts, consolidations, and those high probability trade entries we're all looking for. All right, now take a close look at this section on the chart. You'll see the price breaking through the upper Bollinger Band, and this is a key moment. When this happens, it often indicates a potential breakout. And if the momentum continues, it could lead to a strong trend in that direction. This is actually a great opportunity to consider a buy trade, especially if other indicators or price actions support the move. Many traders who recognize this early can ride the trend and secure some solid profits. But here's the thing, and it happens to a lot of people. When the price is hovering so close to the upper band, doubt starts to creep in. You start asking yourself, is it too late to enter? Or what if it reverses right after I get in? That hesitation is totally normal, especially if you've seen fake breakouts before. And even if you do take the trade, you might end up exiting too early because prices often have a tendency to snap back to the middle band, which is the 20-period moving average, after moving outside the upper or lower bands. This is a natural part of how Bollinger Bands work, and it often suggests a possible pullback or mini reversal. So now let's talk about how you can avoid that hesitation and confusion when it comes to taking trades confidently using Bollinger Bands. Here's a simple hack I personally use, and trust me, once you try it, you'll never look at Bollinger Bands the same way again. First, go ahead and open up the Bollinger Band settings. Don't change any of the default values for length or standard deviation. Just keep everything exactly as it is. Now here's where the trick comes in. Keep your eyes on the chart while I change the offset value. This is the game changer. I usually set the offset anywhere between 6 to 10, depending on how sharp or smooth I want the band shift to be. It slightly displaces the bands forward, giving you a clearer view of potential reversals or breakouts before they fully form. Now, watch closely. When the price moves outside the bands, it can often signal that the market is either overbought, if above the upper band, or oversold, if below the lower band. In this case, since we see the price pushing above the upper band, a lot of traders might assume it's overbought and avoid the trade. But here's the smart twist. With the offset adjustment and proper price action context, I actually take a buy trade here with confidence. Because instead of fearing the overbought condition, I recognize that strong breakouts often ride the upper band for a while before any pullback happens. And with this offset hack, I get a visual edge that helps me time my entries better. It's all about using the tool in a way that gives you clarity instead of confusion. And that little change in settings can make a huge difference in how confident you feel when pressing that buy or sell button. All right, now that I've entered the trade, we'll let it play out. And in the meantime, let me walk you through exactly when to enter and when to exit using this simple yet powerful Bollinger Band setup. Take a look at this moment on the chart. You can clearly see the price moving outside the bands, and that's our signal to consider a buy trade. This breakout outside the upper band often indicates strong momentum, and with the offset tweak we made earlier, the signal becomes much clearer and more reliable. Now here comes the important part, your exit. You don't want to hold on too long and miss the opportunity to lock in profits. So the moment you see price move back inside the bands, that's your cue to exit the trade. It's as simple as that. Outside the band equals enter, back inside equals exit. To show you why this works so well, let me now change the offset back to 0, which is the default setting. Look at the chart now. You'll notice how it becomes much harder to spot clean entry or exit points. The bands are hugging the price too tightly, and it becomes a lot more confusing to trade with confidence. That's why this trick works so well, especially for quick scalping on lower time frames. When I set the offset to 10 again, the chart becomes much clearer. Entry and exit zones stand out beautifully. Now let's take a look at a sell setup. See this point? The price breaks below the lower band. That's a clear sell signal. You enter the trade here, and then again, as soon as the price moves back inside the band, you exit. Quick in, quick out. That's the scalping mindset. To compare again, I'll change the offset back to 0. As you can see, now there's no clear signal. It's choppy, unclear, and not something you want to base a trade on. But when I turn the hack back on by setting the offset between 5 and 10, everything becomes much more structured. So feel free to experiment with different offset values between 5 and 10. Here's another perfect example of a buy signal. Take a look at this spot on the chart. The moment the price crosses above the upper Bollinger Band, that's your cue to enter a buy trade. Then, for your exit, just wait for the price to cross back inside the upper band, and that's your sign to close the position and secure your profits. Simple, right? Now, let's test what happens when we change the offset back to 0, which is the default setting. As you can see, it suddenly becomes much harder to identify a clean entry and exit. The chart looks more cluttered and the signals aren't as obvious. That's the downside of using Bollinger Bands without this tweak. But now, let's turn the hack back on by setting the offset to a value like 10. Boom. The signals become much more clear and easy to act on, making your trading decisions smoother and more confident. Now check this out. Here's a sell signal forming, and here's another one right after it. In both cases, the price drops below the lower Bollinger Band, giving us a clear sell opportunity. Again, just like before, your exit point is when the price moves back inside the band. Let's test it once more by changing the offset to 0. And yep, as expected, the signals aren't as clear. You'd really be second guessing your trades here. But once I switch the offset back to 10, everything falls into place. Sharp entries, clean exits, and a solid plan for quick scalping. Here's one more sell signal. Another great chance to grab a quick scalp with minimal stress. Now take a look at this part. This is where things get really exciting. Sometimes this setup doesn't just give you small wins, it can actually deliver massive profit opportunities. What I like to call a zero to hero kind of move. Look closely here. The price moves outside the upper Bollinger Band, and that right there is a clear buy signal using this strategy. It's moments like these where quick action and the right setup can lead to incredible gains. But just for comparison, let's see what happens if I change the offset back to 0, which is the default setting. Now, look at the chart. You'll notice something immediately. There's no clear entry signal anymore. Everything looks a bit messy, and without that clean visual cue, you might hesitate or miss the trade entirely, and that means missing out on what could have been a huge winning move. Now, let me switch the offset back to 10, and boom. The signal is crystal clear again. You can clearly see the entry point when the price breaks outside the band, and you also know exactly when to exit as soon as the price moves back inside the band. This little adjustment makes a big difference, right? It not only gives you confidence in entering the trade, but also takes the guesswork out of exiting. That's what makes this hack so powerful, especially for scalpers and short term traders. I really hope you're starting to understand and appreciate this setup now. It's simple, it's effective, and most importantly, it works. With just a small tweak like changing the offset, you can turn ordinary Bollinger Bands into a powerful entry and exit tool. All right, now let's get back to the live trade we're currently in. I'm going to wait patiently until the price moves back inside the upper Bollinger Band, and that's when I'll look to close the trade and lock in profits. For this particular setup, I've kept things super simple. I'm only using one indicator, and that's the Bollinger Bands. But here's something important to note. If you want to increase your confidence and accuracy with these entries and exits, you can combine this hack with other indicators like RSI, MACD, or even something like the stochastic RSI. It adds an extra layer of confirmation and it helps filter out false signals. In fact, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let me know which indicator you'd like to combine with this Bollinger Bands hack. Maybe I'll feature your combo in my next video. Now, coming back to the chart, as you can see, the price is hovering very close to the upper band, but the candle hasn't actually closed inside the band yet. That's why I'm still holding the position. I'm waiting for that clear exit signal before I close the trade. It's always better to wait for confirmation rather than jumping out too early. Also, take a look at how the price keeps rejecting at this same level. That tells me this area is acting like a strong resistance. So what I'll do is go ahead and set a take profit level right around this upper band, which should give me a clean exit with around $400 in profit. Okay, and now the price is almost there. Boom, take profit hit. And the trade is closed with a sweet $400 gain. That's how you use a simple Bollinger Band strategy with discipline and timing. Now, take a look again. The price just crossed the upper band once more, which could indicate that the uptrend trend is continuing. So technically, it's another buy signal. But here's where you need to be a little cautious. The price is already in what we'd call an overbought condition, which means there's a chance it could reverse any moment. To trade this situation more accurately, I highly recommend adding a momentum indicator, something like RSI or MACD, to confirm whether the buying strength is still solid or starting to fade. And that's a wrap for today's session. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your trading friends. I've got plenty more tips, tricks, and live examples coming your way. So stay tuned and happy trading.